Hi, Scorpio. Welcome to your April 2020 Astro Update. It's Reina here. And so, April is a month where, in the second half, the sun goes into Taurus, and that's your opposite sign. So, you start having this opposition with the sun and other transiting planets that are going through Taurus, and it really brings up relationship matters, but I'll get to that in a minute. So, as the month begins, we have the sun in Aries, which for you is the sixth house. This is more like down to brass tacks kind of stuff. The sixth house is ruled by Virgo in the universal chart. It's an earth house, therefore, it deals with earthy issues such as your body, your health, I should say, your employment, and your daily schedule. How, what you do in a day and how does that work for you. So, organizing your life, in other words. And this may, in the Northern Hemisphere, this is springtime, so spring cleaning may be in order where you want to get organized. On the 3rd of the month, Venus goes into Gemini, and this is the 8th house for you. And guess what, Scorpio? This is the house that you rule. So you're very familiar with the themes of this house because it also describes Scorpio, deep diving, intimacy. What do you think of when I say the word intimacy? Do you think of sex or do you think of emotions? This is a water house, so the emotions are definitely a big part of the 8th house. This is the house of transformation. That's why death is associated with it. Death is a form of transformation, but certainly not the only type. And of course, with the tarot, Scorpio is connected to the death card, and that's not a coincidence. So Venus here can mean that your significant other, if you have a relationship with somebody, and this I would say especially, well, I don't know if I can limit it to more to newer relationships. I suppose it could be anybody. And even if, let's say, you're married or if you've lived with somebody for a long time and you have kind of started to drift apart, Venus in the 8th house can mean that both of you are putting in the effort to make your relationship less superficial and more, I was going to say intense, but that's not, I don't think people want their relationships to be intense so much as meaningful and intimate, where the people are bearing their souls to one another. And that's how you really can understand how somebody ticks. That's kind of the 8th house too. The psychological process. I never know how to say in the plural, processes that make somebody who they are, that make you who you are too. It's not just somebody else. But with Venus here, there can be that kind of thing. Now, Venus can bring money, so the 8th house is a money house. It's shared resources though. So your partner may be getting a raise or otherwise getting more money somehow. The 8th house can be inheritances, specifically in terms of money that you don't earn, that you receive, shared resources, or even like a divorce settlement, something like that. I would even put like child support, because it's something that you need that is coming from another person, or even a gift of money. And so that could also be in play for some of you. On the 7th, we have a full moon at 18 degrees of Libra. Well, Scorpio, Libra is the 12th house for you. So we're talking, when you have a full moon in the 12th house, it's kind of like some sort of, how would I put it? Maybe like baggage, letting go of that excess, that emotional baggage. The 12th house specifically is about, it's called the house of self-undoing because of, it's the house that, it's another water house that Pisces rules, and Pisces ruler Neptune can be about addictions and that the self-defeating patterns. So becoming aware of these and letting go of them, and just kind of like tying up the loose ends. The full moon can bring something to a head or a culmination. So this can be very psychic for you, where you have prophetic dreams. The 12th house is the house of dreams, and it's also psychic, and so is the full moon is psychic place. So I really like the transit of the full moon in the 12th house, because then you'll have a you'll have a full moon in May in your first house, Scorpio, and that will be the time when you can do it on the conscious. This is the subconscious or unconscious level of kind of like releasing karma or releasing these old patterns. So that's the internal, and this is more of the external. So it could even be next month when you have that full moon, could even be more with the physical form, where you're like, okay, I'm going to stop doing X, Y, and Z because I want to change my body or whatever, things like that. Or just change your persona, the mask that you wear for the world. But this is more on the internal end of things. Okay, on the 11th, Mercury goes into Aries, your 6th house, and that's more kind of analytical tendencies as they relate to your health. Mercury rules the 6th house because Mercury rules Virgo, and therefore it's connected to diet. But when I say the word diet, I'm not talking about losing weight. I'm talking about how a person eats, a person's eating plan. Because I don't like to use the word diet, because then people think of like something that is short-lived, that's just to get down to a certain weight. And this is more about improving one's health overall, and maybe doing this consistently. Like, how can I eat in a way that I can maintain this, I can maintain good health. And who knows? I mean, this is coming on the heels of that full moon. Perhaps the 12th house can be an addiction. So maybe you're ending some kind of addictive behavior, and now you want to improve your diet. And there was actually, I'm acting like it's the past, but I'm recording it before the new moon in Aries on March 24th. Maybe many of you will be listening before then, so this will be still relevant. And the new moon in the 6th house may be that first foray, kind of venturing into this area of improving your health. Okay, Mercury in the 6th house can also be about thinking about how you manage your day. What kind of things do you do? What time do you get up in the morning? All of these habits, because you may realize that perhaps in some cases there are Scorpio people who want to go back to college, or if it's some kind of a training program and they have a full-time job, they need to have time to study, and they just feel like it's impossible to find the time. And they realize, oh yeah, I could wake up an hour earlier, and matter of fact, to make up for the loss of sleep, I can go to bed earlier because I'm really just on my computer anyhow or watching television. Why not just go to bed earlier and get up when my mind is fresh and study then, Just these things like that. It doesn't have to be rocket science or anything. But these things may be going through your head on how to be more efficient and so on and so forth. You may be talking to employers if you're in between jobs. You may be interviewing or just researching certain positions, filling out applications or sending resumes, creating your resume. On the 19th, the sun goes into Taurus, hence the 7th house. This is the house of partnership. That bodes well for you because you have Venus in the 8th at the same time. And so this can be very romantic and very deep at the same time. And on the 22nd, we have a new moon at 3 degrees of Taurus in the 7th house. So that's great for partnerships. And then not just romantic. I mean, it can even be with if you have launched your own business, or even if you've already had your own business and you've kind of had some ups and downs. This may feel like a boost to you in some way, that you're gaining new clients. On the 25th, we have Pluto Retrograde at 25 degrees of Capricorn. And so this for you, Scorpio, has been in your 3rd house, which is the house of siblings and extended family members like cousins and aunts and uncles, I believe, as well. Your neighbors are the 3rd house. Your local area is the 3rd house. And teaching and learning. I think that, this is about gaining a skill. And with Pluto transiting this sector, again, Scorpio, this is one of your rulers. So it's the 3rd house is in the universal chart is Gemini. And therefore, the ruler of Gemini is Mercury. So this is another Mercury-ruled house. So we've got the 3rd and the 6th houses ruled by Mercury, with Gemini and Virgo respectively as the signs that they're ruling. So Gemini is all about acquiring information or even disseminating information. So public speaking and, but just in terms of your thought processes, I think that's how I would say it, diving really deep, not being satisfied with the status quo. So I could see somebody who, maybe was studying to be like I'm trying to think of like a certificate, because the 3rd house is not, the 3rd house opposes the 9th house, which is university. So we're talking about elementary school, but we're also talking about, so if you're a teacher, you'd be teaching at a lower grade than the college level. But also we're talking about, getting some kind of a certification, credentials, or something like that. So I could see in the last 10 or 12 years a Scorpio person who maybe went in to get a certificate for something maybe like, whatchamacallit. I'm thinking of those like healthcare things, like a radiologist. I don't know what they call them, but they don't take, you can go to community college and get some kind of coursework done. You don't have to have like a bachelor's degree, something like that. I don't know if I'm saying the right thing, but something in the healthcare industry. And you just do that work and you realize, I want to heal people and this isn't healing them, whatever it is. And so you go and you become an energy healer, but you study these things, because Pluto in the 3rd is going to have the person, because of that Mercury connection, studying esoteric information, secret information, occult information, hidden, and it could involve any number of subjects, including metaphysics, but just even like alternative health, but like the spiritual component of it. So when Pluto is retrograde, you're going to be having to look at, I consider this house different than, I mean, this particular transit, different than even having Mercury transiting the eighth house. That's kind of like an equivalent transiting your house, the eighth house, because since Mercury rules this third house, there's going to be this abstract quality. There's going to be a this is ruled by air, so it's detached, and so a person who is studying something, even if it was astrology, which definitely could be an eighth house influence. I'm talking about the Pluto in here. I hope I'm probably confusing a lot of people. And I'm kind of like being convoluted. I'm really sorry about that, but hopefully a few of you will know where I'm going with this. I feel like even if you're studying astrology or the tarot or anything like that, with the Pluto retrograde, you're going to connect with yourself and your own mind. And so, in other words, we're at a certain point we're regurgitating information. Even if we're learning about astrology or the tarot, I often feel like I'm regurgitating information. And sometimes it doesn't feel authentic because unless you have really lived through something and you're just telling people what you've learned, but you haven't really experienced it, I don't feel that it's truly genuine. And so this is about connecting your own mind with what it is that you're learning. And to me, that's the ultimate powerful discourse. So when you do share with others, it will be coming from the most authentic place it can possibly come from. On the 27th, Mercury is going into Taurus. So see, there's that confusion. I've been talking about Mercury because I was talking about the third house, but now I'm literally talking about Mercury transit, which had been in your sixth house work sector, now in the seventh house. Great for connecting with a partner, communicating with them. I know that sounds like a no-brainer, like, oh yeah, that would be really nice to communicate with my partner. Why didn't I think of that? But there are a lot of people who they kind of like don't do that. They kind of are very shallow in their communication with a partner. And I think that this is one of the big reasons why relationships break up, is because there's not enough communication. And I'm just talking about in general. I'm not just even talking about your deep, dark secrets. I'm talking about just on a daily basis, where you're sharing of yourself. Actually, I'm talking to a sign that tends to be quite secretive. So I may be talking to you, especially if your natal, if you have Mercury in Scorpio as your personal planet, in addition to being a sun in Scorpio. The Scorpio rising, that may not be as big an influence. Maybe when you're out and about, you may be more tight-lipped, but definitely if you're listening to this for your sun sign, and especially if you have your natal Mercury in Scorpio, this can be an exercise during this transit of learning how to trust, because it's really a lot of it is trust issues, feeling like the information that you give will be used by somebody else against you. And Scorpio's always, that 5-dimensional chess player, always thinking way ahead and trying to outsmart people, outmaneuver them. And that's kind of that, that lack of trust that somebody else is going to work with you, not against you. And you have to be fearless in love, and I feel. And so that involves being capable of being seen as vulnerable. Because if you're not able to, then people will not really get to know you. And ironically, that creates a vicious circle where a person, I'm talking about in a personal relationship, a seventh house type of relationship, one-on-one relationship, where you want more than anything in the world, a Scorpio person wants to merge with somebody at the deepest level, not just sexually, but emotionally, spiritually. And when you hold back, when you do not share with the person your childhood, your, the humiliating experiences, the sad experiences in your life, and you just present yourself as this tough individual, that can create a big chasm or, gap between the two of you that is never fully bridged. So I'm very self-conscious now because somebody said to me, that's your opinion, you shouldn't give your opinions. And this is what I'm talking about. If I do anything other than that, I'm just regurgitating. So I have to give my insights in order to be, to make this material my own and to give my own personal slant on things. And hopefully that resonated with you, and the whole reading did. I guess we will see when April finally rolls around. But in any case, thanks for listening. If you'd like a personal reading, the link is below. Scorpio, take care. Bye.